everybody, welcome back to another edition of 30 Teams in 30 Days here on Inside the Zone with Mateo. So glad you decided to click on this episode. And of course, as always, I hope you are entertained. For those who may not know what 30 Teams in 30 Days is, or whoever the heck I am, well, my name is Mateo and I host all the podcasts here on the channel. We talk about Minnesota sports, but in the month of June, this is where 30 Teams in 30 Days comes in. I said, we're going to take a little stoppage from Minnesota sports. The Minnesota sports got eliminated. The Wild, the Timberwolves got eliminated. The Twins are not doing too well. The Vikings are in the offseason. So I'm going to grind out and post a video every single day through the month of June. We're going to go through each NBA team day by day, worst record to best record, and just kind of break down their offseason, recap their season, and you've clicked on day 20. For the previous 19 straight days, we've gone through teams. And now, after today, we will officially be 2/3 of the way done and only have 10 more episodes left. It's June 20th, 2026. I appreciate you guys for watching. I also wanted to let you guys know, if you're regular watchers of this channel and of this series, starting tomorrow, the 21st of June, I'm actually going to be gone. I'm recording all these videos ahead of time. So yes, I won't be here for the next week, meaning these are going to be pre-recorded. I'm not going to have any access to change them if news drops, so you're just going to have to bear with me. But today is June 20th. Let's get into it. And we got, as mentioned already, we take a deep dive through each NBA team during the month of June. There's the schedule, a big fat X on the left side of things. And we're moving our way towards all the postseason teams. And we're actually in the postseason teams now. We got the Toronto Raptors today, batting order. Mateo Show batting order, if you're familiar with the channel. You know we use it every single episode, no matter what topic we're talking about. It's just like a little roadmap to kind of get you an idea of where we're headed here. And there's 5 things that stay on the board for 30 teams in 30 days. It is how well did they do last season, who they should draft, who they should keep, who they should target, and what is their early ceiling and floor. If they make the moves I suggest, or if they keep their team relatively the same. We'll talk about that at the end of the episode. But now, sit back, relax, and enjoy. It's the Toronto Raptors here on 30 Teams in 30 Days, and we will start with the 2025-2026 season. We're going to recap the Raptors' record, players, and just my overall thoughts on this team in Toronto, the only Canadian team in the NBA. So a little recap here for you. 46-36 was their record. They ended up being the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. Brendan Ingram was their top scorer. Emmanuel Quickley was their top assister. And Scotty Barnes was their top rebounder. They currently hold the 19th overall pick in the 2026 NBA draft. And by the way, for those episodes, for the days that come after the 23rd of June, because that is when the draft is, we'll have it for the 23rd, but starting after the 24th, we're going to take actually the draft section out of it because the draft will have already happened. So let's talk a little stats here. We're going to bring up some stats here for the Toronto Raptors. Again, as mentioned before, or just moments ago, Brendan Ingram was their top scorer. He averaged 21.5 points per game in 77 games played. He also averaged 5.6 rebounds and 3.7 assists. You got RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett in 57 games played. He definitely struggled with some injuries. Averaged 19.3 points, averaged 5.3 rebounds, and 3.3 assists. Scotty Barnes missed only 2 games in the regular season, and he averaged in those 80 games 18.1 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 5.9 assists. A really solid year for Scotty Barnes. Emmanuel Quickley, their starting point guard, played 70 games, started all 70 of them. He averaged 16.4 points, 4.0 rebounds to be exact, and 5.9 assists as well. He was tied with Scotty Barnes for the team lead in assists. They ended up giving it to Emmanuel Quickley just because of the point guard positions. Also mentioned Scotty Barnes was the team leader in steals and blocked with 1.5 in each of those categories. Jakob Poeltl in 46 games played averaged 10.7 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists on the penny. Then you got Colin Murray-Boyles averaging 8.5 points, 5 rebounds, and 1.9 assists in 57 games played. 22 of those he actually was able to start, but his primary role was off the bench. Jacoby Walker averaged 7.5 points, 2.6 rebounds, and 1.2 assists. And that was kind of the main thing. That was kind of the main cast. Oh, by the way, I forgot. Sandro averaged 11.2 points per game, 4.9 rebounds, and 1.9 assists in 80 games played, but he only started 13 of them, so he was a primary bench player there. And then, of course, guys like Ochi Agabaya, Tracy Jackson Davis, guys that got traded, didn't really play that many, so we're not going to have to highlight them. So, yeah, that's kind of a look at some of these Raptors stats. Obviously, some things that jump out to me, like we've been doing this, like really, I guess we started this little thing yesterday. Like one word. What's one word to describe their overall season? And I think that one word's got to be surprising. I don't know how many fans besides Toronto Raptor fans saw this, and even Raptor fans, I don't know if you guys thought you were going to be able to compete, and they definitely had the opportunity to compete. Obviously, things didn't go as planned in the postseason, but this was a very surprising season, and with that surprising moments, all these surprising moments, and you were able to win 46 games or so, you can definitely take a sense of, well, hey, it was a pretty successful season. Obviously we would want to compete for the title. We, obviously weren't able to do that, but you made the playoffs. You had a really strong regular season. Obviously it could be better. Obviously you would want 50 plus wins, maybe even 60 wins if you're the OKC Thunder or San Antonio Spurs. But still, given the roster, given what they have to work, I was really surprised. I thought Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes both played elite basketball for the Toronto Raptors when healthy. That, again, when healthy was a big concern, as RJ Barrett did play 20 less games than Brandon Ingram. So you definitely could have argued away, and RJ Barrett could have been the team leader in points if he had played just, more games. But it is what it is. And, before we head over to the draft section, I always like to kind of address the team's biggest need, because I do think that's an idea of how to figure out who they're going to draft. And the Toronto Raptors, and I like to use the depth chart for those of you who don't know. I love these depth chart things. Emmanuel Quickley is their starting point guard. Jamal Sheed is their backup point guard listed on their depth chart. You also had Scotty Barnes, but Scotty Barnes can really play anywhere. He's definitely a major forward. Brandon Ingram starting shooting guard, Jacoby Walter and AJ Lawson, as well as Grady Dick, that are on those backup twos. Grady Dick and Lawson can both play the small forward position as well. You also, over in that position, you have RJ Barrett and Jameson Battle. Then you got Scotty Barnes and Colin Murray Boyles at the 4, and then Jakob Poeltl and Sandro at the 5. Obviously, the 5 is a big area of concern, but also you just need shooting in general. Like you're a really solid defensive team. You definitely need some shooting. And obviously, when we take a look at some free agent targets and trade targets, that's going to have definitely a little bit of a theme going to it. Centers and shooting. That's kind of what you want. If you can find a shooting center, that'd be great. But really, you probably want 2 or maybe 3 separate players, 1 center and 2 shooting guys that you can add to your team, or maybe just one of the each. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Raptors do. But we'll go over to the mock draft. Again, we're not going to do this many more times because the draft is going to happen in just a couple days. Man, holy cow. Did I pick? Okay, good. I did. I was like, holy cow, Daimara going 7. I'm glad. I've been glazing a Daimara. I've been glazing him so much. I love this guy. I'm glad to see him finally go in the top 10. That's really encouraging. Atlanta goes Brendan Burries. I feel like the Atlanta Hawks would have wanted a Daimara. Man, this is a very interesting draft. Lopez going to 18. Liberian and Morez, both of those fall. Bennett Sturts falls. Koa Pete technically doesn't fall if you're, looking at the trade board. But I just wanted to see how this draft ended up. Steinbeck to the Warriors. I don't hate that. Yaxel to the Heat. Who did the Thunder end up getting in this universe? Nate Ament at 12, and then Chris Senack at 17. I don't hate that. But when you're looking here, obviously you need shooting, and there's not a strong center here. You could get the Italian, I believe. There is an Italian in this draft. Kareem is not who I'm thinking of. Who am I? Did he actually fall, bro? What? What is going on? Am I tripping? Oh, no. Where did he end up? I swear there's an Italian center. Maybe Sandro doesn't appear. This is crazy, bro. What is going on? I don't know. Whatever. But LeBarian, I think LeBarian Philon Jr. makes the most sense in this situation. You could definitely try Bennett Sturts, but I think 6'4" guard. I mean, they're both 6'4" guards. One's out of Alabama, one's out of Iowa. I like Alabama a little bit better. I like LeBarian a little bit. I can't believe he fell to us here. But yeah, I feel like what I was initially thinking was them taking like Chris Cenac. Just, I don't know, 6'11", maybe Jaden Quinton if he were to fall. I would have really liked like a Dylan Swine or Cameron Carr to go here at 19, but it is what it is. So yeah, LeBarian will go here at pick number 19. And it's good. It's solid, obviously. It's not ideal because you're definitely towards the end of the draft, which kind of sucks. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And you guys get a first round pick, and that's all that matters. Some teams don't even have first round picks. So that's who we'll take with the draft. We don't really need to care about the second round pick. So we'll move on. So we can skip the draft here. And now we get to go to the start of free agency. So we actually divide free agency, into two separate sections, if you will. The first part is we're taking a look at the team's individual free agents, and then the second half is where we figure out, who's out there, who could they target, etc. So here's a list of their own free agents. We're gonna go through who I think they should sign, or who I think it's okay to let them walk. Garrett Temple. First things first, he's really the only unrestricted free agent. And for that reason, I think you should re-sign him. Sandro, I think, will take his $2.8 million player option. I think he should take that. I think you should probably take the club option on Jonathan here just because you need centers. Jamal Shred I think you definitely take up that club option, and so you can ignore that. It's just so if they weren't to take his club option, he'd be a restricted free agent. So it still limits his chances of going to another team. And I think Trace Jackson Davis, I think you also take his $2.4 million club option. I think that's a really chill one. AJ Lawson didn't necessarily perform great, averaging 4.2 points in 24 games last season. I think he's okay. He's not making much money, but I think it's okay to just let him walk. And then for these restricted free agents, two-way players, it's kind of up to you. I don't really know much about the two-way players normally, so I normally just say it's kind of up to you. I just do a straight line. Maybe I say sign them because they're going to be cheap and they're good to have in your system. I definitely know a little bit about AJ or Elijah Martin, but other than that, I mean, this is a very easy free agent class. I mean, very cheap that you can probably get most of these guys back on their club options, player options, or whatever. Garrett Temple, you might have to, extend. And actually, the more and more that I think about it, I'm sorry. Garrett Temple, nope. I think, 40 years old. I think you could, but you also have a lot of guards, and I don't think you need him. That's what we're gonna do. I'd say you don't have to re-sign him. I think that's it. Maybe on a league minimum if you need a roster spot, but I think this team actually will be fighting to not cut people. So yeah, that actually makes things actually a lot more easier. So actually, what we'll do here with all of this, we're gonna go over because this is gonna be the trade machine that we'll be using. AJ Lawson. Actually, not. Garrett Temple. We are going to renounce his capital. Bye. Goodbye. Yes, you can go sign somewhere else. And then we can probably take some of these club options, but again, it won't really matter. Just sometimes that helps. If there's somebody that I'm saying you don't have to resign, like you can undo the renounce, you could. It doesn't really do much, but I'm just gonna do it. Just so you keep a little bit of salary there because you're not going to re-sign him. So, yeah, that's what I'm thinking here for free agency. Let me know, of course, Raptor fans. Do you want Garrett Temple back? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you not want any of these free agents back, or do you want to keep all of them? Let me know in the comments down below. And now we get to do a little fun part, the second half of free agency, where I will try to predict who the wonderful Toronto Raptors will pursue and who they will sign, either by the open market or by a trade. All right, let's do it, guys. Bam! Here's my top target. So we got a couple free agents. a couple free agent targets, but then of course we got the trade targets. Mitchell Robinson is the perfect opportunity, has the perfect opportunity to get paid in Toronto, coming off an NBA Finals championship. He has a ring now. Maybe that will make his cost a little bit more. But for a team that needs a center and maybe doesn't want necessarily a Rudy Gobert type of center who is more defense, because this team, again, is very defensive, Mitchell Robinson provides a little bit of offense, a little bit more than Rudy Gobert does. Obviously, that's not saying much, but still, I think it could be a really cool fit over there in Toronto. And then to give you some shooting, Tim Hardaway Jr. is the veteran. He's been in the league. He knows how to get clutch buckets. He'll get 12 to 15 almost every night, depending on the day. He can just get some good 3-point shooting. But then Quentin Grimes, I love this guy. I think he's going to definitely get a nice little contract wherever he signs. And again, I think Toronto could be a perfect landing spot for Quentin Grimes. But now, y'all heard the news. Y'all heard the rumors. Giannis is going to get traded one of these days. He might have even gotten traded before I post this video. So, yeah, we're going to go see a hypothetical Giannis trade. And then I think bringing fellow countryman, fellow Canadian Jamal Murray could actually really solve a lot of problems. Now, here's the thing. Sorry, wrong page. Emmanuel Quickley, he's an okay point guard, but he's not amazing. And Jamal Murray might need a reset button. Give him a break from Mile High. Go have him play for his home team. Well, I mean, Canada only has one team, so Toronto's going to be his home team no matter where he's born. And I just think he could be a real good fit. We also did throw out a Joel Embiid trade idea in the 76ers video. We'll go through that again. And then I also do think Domantas Sabonis could be an interesting trade piece as well. So we're going to go through all of those. We're going to start, though, with Giannis Antetokounmpo, because why not start with Giannis? And again, if he gets traded, I'm going to be looking stupid, but it's all good because this video is actually getting filmed before the 20th. So it is what it is. So we'd have him trade to the Raptors. I do think they'd get one of these forwards in return. Whether I think I'm leaning more towards Brendan Ingram, just because Scotty Barnes is much more valuable in my opinion. So you get Brendan Ingram. You're gonna have to give up like just another contract. I think Grady Dick could be a perfect idea. You obviously accept his team option. I believe he has a team option. He has a team option, right? Or club option. Yeah, something like that. You can add it, obviously accept it. And I just want to, wouldn't be the full package, but I just want to see financially where we're at. And this would go through, they can inquire 26, and we're just under. So we could even add another player here if we actually want to. Maybe Jacoby Walter. Maybe just trade another younger piece so, the Bucks can kind of hit the reset button, and then, of course, you'd have to add the pick. I don't know if it would be the pick for this year, though, just because it is towards the end. So maybe a 2027 pick, unprotected. And then, you know what, maybe it is a 2026 pick here. So they get 2 first-round picks, Ingram, Dick, and Walter. Maybe you even throw a 2032 first-round pick. This team has a lot of tradable firsts. And, this would go through. So you could do 3 firsts, Brendan Ingram, Grady Dick, and Jacoby Walter. I actually really do think this trade is a nice little trade for either of the teams. I think both teams kind of win either. I don't know if all I'm trying to say is I'm having a hard time figuring out who wins this trade. I think currently the Raptors would win. And as you can see, that this is giving the Raptors plus 12 wins. But I think long term, these guys will all turn into studs, and you also get 3 additional players. So it's really 6 first-round picks, if you will, for Giannis. But Brendan Ingram, Grady Dick should both contribute right now. And then Jacoby Walter, I think he could be a really nice guard there as well. But at the end of the day, it's kind of depending what the Bucks want. Again, this could be funny if a trade happens and it's nowhere even close. But I think that makes the most sense. Sure, you could do like Scotty Barnes, but I think that would just be too much of a shock, if you will. So I think in this case you would keep Brendan Ingram, and I think they would probably want to keep Scotty Barnes over Brendan Ingram for sure, like no question. But you could do the same package, maybe limit some of the picks, and it would still work. So either or, I do think Brendan Ingram is more likely to be traded. But at the end of the day, we shall see what happens. Number two, second option, of course, as mentioned already, is bringing fellow countrymen Jamal Murray here, which again, the salary should work pretty nicely. But in this case, I do think Emmanuel quickly would be swapped just so that the Nuggets do have some form of a point guard. And then again, I think Grady Dick is a good piece for them. And man, I think we're almost there. Yeah, we're almost there. They got to cut like $300,000. So yeah, we can add in another contract. Maybe it is Jacoby Walter. I think the Nuggets would probably want a little bit of size. So maybe Colin Murray's Boyles, 20 years old. Maybe that's too much for Jamal Murray. You tell me. Obviously, I think it would be then this pick as well. And is it crazy to say I think all I would take maybe an additional first round pick, say like 2030, something like that. Maybe you put some protection. But yeah, I don't know what exactly Jamal Murray's trade value is. You get a solid point guard in Emmanuel quickly for 3 years too, and you definitely save money. Grady Dick can hopefully. I'm rooting for him. I like his play style a lot. I think he could fit well in the Nugget system. And then Colin Murray Boyles is just another size, another big, maybe more of an athletic big that can play alongside Nikola Jokic, and you get a pick or maybe even 2 picks, depending on what you say. So I think this does help the Raptors a lot more than it helps the Nuggets, but at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. There's some other trades here again that I mentioned was the Joel Embiid that we already did, and if you remember, it's pretty easy. Excuse me, especially with the Brandon Ingram contract, and I do think Brandon Ingram would be included in here. It just makes the most sense. And then, yeah, again, sorry, Grady Dick. I just think your contract is such a nice little contract here that it could just work really nicely. And those 2 players are actually all that you need. But again, I think you would have to include the 19th overall pick here. I think you'd probably include 2028 and 2030 just because Joel Embiid is really still talented, still one of the best centers in the game. But again, you can do it financially. You can add as many first round picks as you want. This is interesting. It only gives the Raptors a +1 win total, but I do think it would help them long term. And I actually do think I remember that in that trade, I did have Jakob Poeltl going to the 76ers. Sorry, not back, but going to the 76ers. And again, you can add him or remove him, you can add Poeltl and remove Dick, or you can add them all together, and it could still work financially. So Jakob Poeltl and Ingram and picks for Embiid, or Dick Poeltl, Ingram and picks for Embiid, or Dick, Ingram, and picks for Embiid is all that could happen. There's 3 scenarios that could happen. You could, I think, actually potentially add in another little contract like Sandro or Colin Murray's Boyle, something like that. But yeah, the 76ers have a lot of flexibility, and I think, the Raptors then taking Embiid, I think that could be really, really beneficial for them. Of course, you want Joel Embiid to now stay healthy, and there's a pressure on that, but I still think that the Raptors would win this trade again for this season. And I do think they're almost ready to compete for championships, if not are ready. So again, we'll see what happens. And then the last trade I mentioned was Domantas Sabonis. And this one actually intrigues me a lot. I saved it for last for a reason. Domantas Sabonis would get traded. And here, Jakob Poeltl would get traded in this trade just so that the Kings get a center in return so that they can start somebody there, because they could start Maxime, but I think you could also reroute Poeltl if you don't want him, but I just think it's a good salary matcher as well. And then, yeah, I'm sorry, Brandon Ingram. I just think you're the odd man out here. And call me crazy, Poeltl, Ingram, and probably pick 20 or 19 here. I think that would potentially be enough here. This would actually fail. You're over the allowable incoming by 14 million. So actually, very intriguing. You have to send a player out making a lot. I mean, is it crazy? Would Zach LaVine go here? I don't think so. Maybe DeMar DeRozan on expiring deal would go out, and then maybe you do have to add in another pick just because you are giving. So say 2032, a very late first round pick. This should work, and it still doesn't. You're over the allowable incoming by 11 mil. So now we actually have to send out another player. So maybe we take that 32 pick out of the equation here. Dude, yeah, the contracts stuck. They suck right now just because of where they're at. Maybe Golly. Like, surprisingly, maybe like DeAndre Hunter. So Hunter and Sabonis for Ingram, Pirtle, and then I think you definitely have to include multiple more first round picks. But man, this is actually crazy. Overly allowable incoming by 10. Is there somebody making like $10 million? Man, these two teams have very bad finances here. Grady Dick. I mean, we could do that. Does that help at all? Okay, it does. So you could do something like this. I do think you'd probably have to add in some more picks, but Sabonis and Hunter go to the Raptors for Ingram, Pirtle, Dick, and probably two, maybe three first-round picks, including the pick for this year. So again, there's flexibility. It's just these teams. I think it's the most complicated, but it also, in a sense, makes the most sense. Before we do ceiling and floor and then wrap it up, I will search up Toronto in the trades, in the trade messenger thingy here, and see what people are having the Toronto Raptors do with their own time. Like, what are they exploring here? And then we'll see if anybody leaves any comments on some of the ones that intrigue me here. But I think this is, yeah, Grady Dick going straight for Ty Jerome in a second. I like that. I do like that, dude. Ty Jerome, he's a baller. He is a baller. I don't know if that actually goes through, but I'd consider doing it. Oh man, I don't know why Toronto didn't get saved, bro. I should have. That's the weirdest thing sometimes. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, bro. Come on. Let's go. There we go. This one has them getting Ja. Okay, Ja, again, similar to Jamal Murray, I think needs a change of scenery and definitely could help. This actually has Giannis going to the Heat. The Raptors getting Ja Morant in this trade here. What do they give up? They give up Quickly and Mugbo. Do they give it anything else? That's it for Ja. I mean, I do actually think that's pretty valid. That's pretty valid. And then the rest of the teams, the Bucks get Hero Adama, Davian Mitchell, Ty Jerome, Kel Ware, 4 first-round picks. The Heat get KCP. They take on that bad salary. Clayton and Antetokounmpo. The Grizzlies get Quickly. Excuse me. Wiggins, Turner, Hawkes, and Mugbo. I don't know if this necessarily works for all the teams, but for the Raptors, getting Ja, like we could just do it straight up here. Ja is a guy I forgot. Ja's a guy I forgot about kind of here. Let's pull up the goals. And I mean, there's also rumors that Kyrie, but I do think this team needs a point guard as much as they also need a big. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they think they need more, because I do think that's what they'll end up doing. Where's Memphis at? There's Memphis. All right. So Memphis, again, Ja Morant would go to the Raptors. And then I do think, yeah, if you're doing a point guard trade, I think Emmanuel Quickly has to be involved. And then you could even do Grady Dick. Yeah, sure. Give Grady Dick to them. Grady Dick, Emmanuel Quickly for Ja Morant. And I think that'd be fine. I really do. Very interesting, guys. Very interesting. A lot of conversations. I don't think there's one trade though. Maybe besides a Giannis trade, or maybe if they can get Jaylen Brown somehow, that makes them automatic contenders, like we had with the Atlanta Hawks. And if you haven't checked that video out, please go check it out. But I do think, as we talk about the ceiling and floor, there's going to be two bullet points. It's going to say without the moves I suggested, and it's going to give a ceiling. And with the moves I suggested, it's going to give a ceiling as well. I don't think there's a necessarily a championship move. I think there's just some little steps that you can take for this year. I do think it's going to kind of be a bridge season here. I think without the moves, if they keep their team relatively the same, this is a first round exit team. Maybe they can get to the second round. But with the moves I suggested, maybe getting Jamal Murray, I think this team could definitely go into the second round and have a chance to win a couple more series, especially bringing a guy like Jamal Murray. He can really help the playoff team in the Raptors that kind of struggled with the point guards position. Or maybe you bring in Sabonis and was it DeAndre Hunter or something like that. Again, I don't know if there's a championship move here. Maybe Giannis, but even then we'll see, because you'd have to give up some stuff. I think give it 2-3 years, and then the Raptors will be legit contenders in the East, depending on how they handle their contracts and stuff, and just all their players and handle their team. But it's a really interesting team, and let me know what you guys think about the Toronto Raptors, the only Canadian team in the NBA. But for now, that's going to be it here for today's episode. We got a brand new team tomorrow, and boys, if you I'm excited because we got the Minnesota Timberwolves tomorrow. We're talking all things Timberwolves, and yes, I am prepping for them to make a trade. I know they're gonna make a trade when I'm gone, and this video is gonna be recorded when I'm gone. I'm so nervous people are going to keep frying me, but hey, it is what it is. We got to talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves tomorrow. It's going to be fire. Do they keep Anthony Edwards? Duh. But who can they trade Julius Randle to? Who are they going to go all in for Giannis? Are they going to get a point guard? Are they going to do all of these questions that you all have? Well, we'll talk about that and so much more on breaking down the Minnesota Timberwolves tomorrow on day 21 of 30 teams in 30 days. But this has been the 20th episode of 30 teams in 30 teams in 30 days. Good golly. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe button. Turn the notification bell button on so you never miss any episodes. And as always, don't forget to keep God first because he's the most important thing in your lives. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Timberwolves. Have a great day. Peace.